Welcome back to A Little Bit of Cheese, your bite-sized Wisconsin sports podcast. With me is LeBron James. I'm just kidding. That is Sam Douglas here on this, I'll call it a somber Monday, kind of. I don't know. But the Packers losing to the Bears for the first time since 2018, breaking an 11-game win streak against Chicago. This also breaks Chicago's 10-game losing streak. The final score 24-22. Cairo Santos getting his redemption with the game-winning field goal. There's a whole lot to cover over this game. I don't know. In the end, it didn't end up being important because Washington took care of business and they beat Dallas. But there's a lot to cover here. There's an uneasy feeling after this game, and I'm going to give you the floor here, Sam, to kind of either rant or praise, but I don't think there's going to be a lot of the latter.
Yeah, not a great game by any means. You hate to see it happen. Across all aspects. It looks like we didn't go in with a plan whatsoever. We didn't know, were we going out to win this game or were we going in with intention of resting some guys? We knew Josh Jacobs wasn't going to get a full load. Why is Zach Tom playing the full game? Xavier McKinney's playing the full game. But like what are we doing? It felt like we went in without direction, without a goal, and that is absolutely what came to bite us at the end. We didn't know. Are we stopping them, before the first down? Are we playing a Hail Mary coverage? We just went in without a direction. We didn't know what was going on. And it 100% looked like that. We lost Christian Watson with a torn ACL. You hate to see that. So now we're going into Jordan Love's throwing elbow. You never want your quarterback to have a throwing elbow situation going on. It doesn't look to be that severe, but still, it really couldn't have gone any worse. Like you said, it doesn't matter. I heard there was some strong words in the locker room after the game. That's not good. Losing to the Bears at home, not good. Fact of the matter is, everybody's 0-0. We're playing next week, and the Bears are happy to be 5-12. So, hopefully we can get our damn heads screwed on straight and take this Philadelphia game seriously next week.
Yeah, I think you started off with the top there, kind of with my similar takeaway. It was LaFleur's indecision here that really makes things just seem weird. Like going into the game, and you can kind of tell that their plan was to go in, get a big lead, take the starters out, and then cruise into the playoffs. That's what it was. But this is not a perfect world, and that is not the situation that presented itself. Chicago was able to get out to a lead with their little fake punt trickery, and I'm not going to get angry about that. I mean, good for them that they're able to pull that off. I mean, that's a hard thing as a player to expect. Like, Chicago sold it really well to get that punt return, get the lead. But then when Love went out and you're running with Willis, the game, when it got to the second half, and it was actually stated by LaFleur that Jordan Love could have came back, but they decided not to. And I'm okay with that. And but the other indecision that we talk about, and I actually have a quote from LaFleur after the game yesterday, but when they went down to go and drive and kick what they were hoping was going to be the game-winning field goal by Brandon McManus, which actually I'll shout him out now. My Munster of the week is Brandon McManus because that kick was absolute nails, 55 yards, 8 degrees, doesn't matter. That was sick. That just got me pumped up right before the defense went and ripped my heart out, essentially, which I mean, I'm not even going to say it like that. I didn't even care that much when they lost that game. It was kind of like, well, they got some things to figure out before next week. And it seems like a lot of things mentally, which I almost take it as like a positive thing that there was some stuff said in the locker room. And the fact that some guys are frustrated because that was kind of frustrating to watch as a consumer. Like they didn't have a universal plan. But the quote I have here from LaFleur, he blamed himself for calling a timeout to debate whether to go for the first down or to attempt the field goal. He said, quote, "I'm disappointed that I put our team in that situation at the end of the game because I was being indecisive. You can't do that in those critical moments because it came back and burned us." Yes, it did, Matt. But this has kind of been the theme this entire season for Matt LaFleur on these fourth down decisions. What are you doing? I need you to go in and have a plan. How do you feel today? Because so many times it's like, I don't even know if he knows what he's doing or what he wants to decide. It's like he needs someone there to just be like, hey, flip a coin, Matt. And I feel like he just goes with whatever that might be. And then the play calling on third down, too, like just a handoff up the middle to Jacobs to try to get 2 yards. Yeah, he's going to get stopped for a negative. Well, not Jacobs. I think it was Wilson or Brooks. I can't remember. I'm sorry for whoever lost those yards. But the play calling there, just absolutely poor. They could have ran something outside because Chicago had the box stacked so bad. And you find yourself in that situation. McManus should not have had to try to kick a 55-yard field goal. Green Bay had a golden opportunity to get him in good field goal position. You had 3rd and 2, and you just do the most vanilla thing on planet Earth against a defense that can stop the run right up the middle.
Not to mention the clock management on that third down. We snapped it. If you get stopped, we snapped it with 20 seconds to go. And then you can milk it down to almost 10-15 when you kick that field goal. We didn't know what was going on. If you're going to run it into that stacked box, and that 15 seconds is exactly what came to bite us a minute later. The clock
Yep.
management was botched for longer than just the last play.
I never understand this, but it happens way too often in the NFL. You saw it with Matt Eberflus with the Bears earlier this year when they played Detroit, but there are just some coaches, and sadly enough, I think Matt LaFleur is one of them that just does not know how to manage a clock. Like you and I, we've played Madden our whole lives. I feel like there are just, when you get to the end of the game, majority of people watching the football game that understand what's going on are going to make the right call. And so many times we just see NFL coaches and Matt LaFleur in a couple instances this year just absolutely botch it. I don't understand. I feel like they should hire somebody that just has played Madden their whole life and knows how to manage a dang clock, because apparently Green Bay just doesn't know how to at times. And you mentioned it before, but Jeff Halfley, what was going on that 3rd and 11 to get Chicago into field goal range? You're leaving the entire middle of the field wide open. Carrington Valentine after the game said, I just did what I was told. And yes, I think Carrington played a heck of a game. Great game by Carrington Valentine, able to force the fumble to get Green Bay even an opportunity to go to kick that field goal. But what are they doing? Just opening up the entire middle of the field. It's not a Hail Mary situation. And even if it is, what are the chances that they go and burn somebody on a play if you're playing even a cover 2? You just have people in the middle of the field sitting at first down. If someone runs past, it's just simple defense. I don't know what went on. I think everybody just took a nap through that entire second half of the game.
I think they 100% did, and the attitudes looked like that too, which we'll get back to in a second. But when you look at the best coaches in the league, when you look at the Ben Johnsons right now, the Harbaughs, Harbaugh did this fair catch kick a couple weeks ago. It's the first time it's been done in what, 70 years.
Yeah.
That's a coach who knows situational football. He knows dang well, oh, if this one situation happens, I'm ready for that. Andy Reid, he's a coach who's ready for anything. And those are situations which take your team a 13-second drive to win a game in an AFC championship. Oh, we have a script for that. It feels like LaFleur, when things are going well, they're going really, really well. He's an artist. He's painting things. He's leading up into plays. He's showing one look so he can counter with it later. It's Floyd Mayweather. He's doing everything to set up everything else. But when it's going off script for him, he doesn't have the answers, and that 100% showed yesterday. He's not prepared for anything.
Yeah, and even to open up the game, you just can't look as flat as you do. And that's kind of been the Matt LaFleur theme when they're playing a strong game. These interdivisional games with Detroit and with Minnesota, their first half scoring differential has been horrendous in those games that they've lost. Yeah, they had a little lead on Philadelphia, which hopefully they can go out with a similar script and go and get that done in the first half next week. But there's a lot to pick here with Matt LaFleur. As great of a coach as he is, there's some little things that you just really need him to improve on. And you saw it last week. Well, yesterday, some of them just haven't happened. It hasn't come to fruition. But I will say in the end, the game didn't matter. It was just really frustrating to watch coaches mess up very, very simple concepts. One of Carrington Valentine and a Brandon McManus go out there and they make the plays where Green Bay should have won that game, regardless of all the other crap that we already talked about. Like, they did not play a good football game yesterday, but they still should have won it because of those plays that were made at the end of the game. But it was really the coaching when it came down to the end of it that just threw it out the window. They didn't care. And it's whatever. And the conversation that's happening, you said it before, Jordan Love has said it, Matt LaFleur has said it. Everybody's 0-0. What has happened in the past of this regular season does not matter anymore. You need to reset. It sucks. I think the biggest loss yesterday really was the Christian Watson. You're losing him probably for a good chunk of next year as well. ACL injury, possibly some more stuff going on there. That really stunk to see. I know that LaFleur was also kind of weighing whether to play Watson or not coming off of that knee injury. He did come out in the press conference and say that Romeo Doubs coming down with an illness towards the end of the week influenced that decision. I didn't like that answer because that should not matter really regardless. Like, because he didn't even know if they wanted to go in and try to win that game. Like, it was
When you've
just
got guys like Malik Heath, he can go make plays. Run
exactly.
him.
That's my Zoom name today. Malik Heath with a grab. Heck yeah, that was awesome. And I think Malik needs to start getting some more playing time, some more targets. I think he's shown when he gets that one target a game, he goes out and makes plays. He has really great body control. I think he runs okay routes. I think he's got really good hands. I think he's someone and the another thing I want to talk about here is just the fact that Green Bay's receiving room that was young and we had a bunch of high hopes for. I don't think anybody's really developed outside of Tucker Kraft. Like Jaden Reed has hand troubles, can't hold on to the ball. Christian Watson, here we are again with the injuries. And I'm not saying that this is his fault. That was a freak accident injury. I prayers out to him. That just sucks. He was crying going off the field. I kind of you have to sympathize for a guy like that because he has taken so much time to get healthy and be out on the field, and now it's just something else that pops up. And I know he's going to work hard and find his way back, but that just sucks for him and his career going into a contract year. But there's just nobody's shown up as a top end target for this Green Bay receiver room, and I think that's a lot of what's going wrong with this Green Bay offense.
And we need it. We don't have wiggle room next week against Philadelphia. We talked in the past couple weeks about defenses being married, having that defensive line married to the secondary. That's what this Eagles defense does. We don't have wiggle room for, a couple drops. We don't have wiggle room for a couple Jordan Love bad balls. We don't have wiggle room for, Matt LaFleur to stall the offense for three possessions when he's running and we're finding ourselves on 2nd and 15s. Like this defense that we're running into with the Eagles, they got Jalen Carter, who is a dog up front. They got Zach Bond, who is, top 3 in the NFL in tackles in the second. And then they got Quinya or in their linebackers. Then they have Quinya Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. Who's their other kid? Darius Slay. Like this Eagles defense is stacked on all 3 levels. We just don't have the liberty to, have any sort of inconvenience, mess up, silly young mistakes going on. We're the youngest team in the NFL, and we're not playing like our pants are on fire every single down. And that's what needs to change. If we're going to be this young, hot, fiery team, dang it, we got to play like it, and we're just not. And we're about to run into a juggernaut, and it almost is a game there. You have to be a little bit more surgical, and I don't see this Packers team, looking like that in the past couple weeks.
I will say I know this has been like negative, 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 but this team can do it. Like the opportunity is still there because
and Philly
okay,
can give it to you. Packers can tap into it, and Philly can give it to you. This is not out of the question.
yeah, I'm excited to turn on the TV at 3:25 on Sunday. I am. I'm really hoping for a good game is what I'll say about that. But I another thing I want to talk about that Detroit Minnesota game yesterday. I don't know if you saw the post game when O'Connell and Campbell met in the middle, but Campbell said to O'Connell, "We'll see you in 2 weeks."
Yep.
That's kind of talking down on the Packers, which I mean, good for them. But
I don't think we would see him.
If Green Bay loses and Washington loses, it would be Minnesota and Detroit. That's why he's saying that. He's expecting the higher seeds to win where Detroit would meet Minnesota. So Campbell's kind of just putting his chips down and said it on live television. Yeah, Green Bay doesn't really stand a chance. which I think is, I don't know, it's just interesting. I think it adds a little bit to it. It's always when someone says something like that where it's just gonna, it can come back and bite you, whether it be Washington coming out and being the underdog going on a run, or it being Green Bay, which I think Green Bay has a much better shot than Washington does to go in and possibly upset. I mean, Washington taking on Tampa, I kind of see that game as a toss up, and but I still have a little bit of hope for Green Bay. As down
Yeah.
as we feel right now, they're 1-5 in the division. That's not a good feeling, but 11-6. I think you just have to be content with where things are at.
I want to get away from the negative here, but I got one more note as far
All
as
right,
to rip on Matt LaFleur a little bit.
well,
The
give it.
1-5 in the division, and we're a blocked kick away from going 0-6. The
Yep.
schedule came out for next year. We not the specific schedule, Cody, but like who we're playing on the
Mm-hmm.
road and home and all. Guess what? We're playing the same 6 games, Cody. We're still playing the Lions twice. We're still playing the Vikings twice. We're
Yeah.
still playing the Bears twice. These are the coaching games. These are the teams that know you, that you know them. This is chess. This is when you see the guys who have you figured out. You're gonna see them again twice next year. All of them. 1-5 is not that's not acceptable against the teams that know your stuff. And a blocked kick away from 0-6, that's so bad. That's gotta change, and that's on coaching. And I hope that's the last negatives I gotta say, because right now we're 0-0 and it's playoff time, baby.
I'll put it this way. It felt like in the one Detroit game, I feel like Green Bay outplayed them. In either one of those Minnesota games, I feel like Green Bay was right there as well. And then I feel like there were a couple of those games that Green Bay won that they should have lost. I think this is kind of just the way that the NFL. I'm not going to read too much into it. Yes, 1-5 is unacceptable. You can't do that again next year. I just I think they're right there with all these teams. Minnesota and Detroit have just been a step better in the regular season. I still think when it gets to the playoffs, I mean, Minnesota showed a lot of weakness last night as well. I think a lot of this goes to Green Bay and just having slow starts. If they don't have those slow starts, I see Green Bay and going and winning essentially all those games, which is an easy thing to say, but they have played better in the second half than every single one of those teams except for Chicago, which is just those games just feel weird too. I mean, it was the block kick. I feel like yesterday's game was kind of just karma going back and biting Green Bay because they should have lost that first game at Soldier Field.
But at some point, these close games, you're grabbing at straws. Like it doesn't, it
Mm-hmm.
means nothing. It's week 18. I don't care how close you played the division. I don't care how many games you were in. Did the Patriots have how many close games were that? It doesn't matter. The losses are the losses at week 18 when it comes to playoff time. Chiefs had a lot of close games. They're the one
Mm-hmm.
seed. They're 15-2. I love that they intentionally threw this past week, though. I think they beat Joe Burrow. They had an opportunity to beat the Bengals this week, or they could beat him in the playoffs. And dang it, Kansas City went out and they beat Joe Burrow this week.
It's just smart. That's really what it was. Like they knew, like in the AFC, okay, who can beat us? Buffalo could beat us, Baltimore could beat us, and Cincinnati, and that's it.
Mhm.
Those are the only teams that I give a chance to beat Kansas City, and they eliminated one of them by getting their butts whooped this week. So I mean, that's Andy Reid just doing his thing out there. But I don't know. Green Bay going into Philly, you kind of got to wipe the slate clean. These guys got to reset. They know what they have to do to get better at, and you just hope that it can come to fruition. You said it before. This is the youngest team in the NFL. That potential is there. I think it sucks when Christian Watson can't be on the field and a Jair Alexander can't be on the field, but guys got to step up, and they're going to really have to step up if they want to take down the number 2 seed in Philly next week. Sorry, guys, a little bit more negative news, but the Bucks losing 105-102 to Portland. I want to kind of give the floor to Sam here, but Dame Lillard, 16 points in that performance. In the last 3 games from the field, he has shot 33%, 30%, and 21.4%. Got to hold him accountable, right?
Absolutely. I'm okay with the Bucks are in a skid, and it's against bad teams too. We are 1-4 in 2025 since we won the cup, 1-4, and it's all against bad teams. It's against Brooklyn twice, it's against Chicago, and it's against the Portland Trailblazers. Look, Portland is not trying to win games this year. They are in tank mode. They are trying to get a high draft pick. Brooklyn has sold off all of their assets, and Lord knows what Chicago is trying to do. They haven't known what they've been trying to do for a while. Um, I want to touch on this Chicago thing just a little bit. Derrick Rose night happened this past week. Really cool. He gave a speech at halftime, and he looked at his kids and said, "Do you want to be, good, or do you want to be great?" And the answer is, being great. And when he says, he tricks his kids, do you want to do that in a good way or do you want to do that in a great way? Now they say, I want to do it in a great way. And he says, now I get to hold you accountable for everything that you do wrong. And we've talked about this as expectations go. And that's how it goes. This Bucks team, do you want to be good or do you want to be great? They are coming at this with a great mentality. And if that is your mentality, then absolutely you get held to these expectations. Absolutely, you're not allowed to lose to Brooklyn twice in 2 weeks. You're not allowed, to be shooting 21% from the field. You're Damian Lillard. You just signed a lifetime contract with Adidas. You are trying to be great, and you get held to these expectations. He's been a minus on the floor, in 2025. That being said, that's the negatives. I'm okay with the skid. We had it in the beginning of the year. We're having it right now. I think the offense needed a little bit of time to get used to itself to start the year. And now we're seeing that with Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton has also been a net negative player in the past 5 games. We know that's not the type of guy he is. He is an offensive superstar if he's playing at a high level. He just has to find time to fit in the right spot in the right way. AJ Green is still doing his thing. He was 7 for 13 from three the other night. He was really the only consistent bright spot on this offense. Um, he's still doing his thing. Andre Jackson is still putting effort forward, but we're just not getting up to beat bad teams. We're showing up to beat the Pacers when Giannis really wants to play. When they took his ball, we know Giannis hates the Pacers. Gotta
Right.
love it. That was an awesome, awesome game. But we're not showing up to beat Brooklyn. We're not showing up to beat Portland. I'm sorry, that's not a good team. We look at the Lions this past year. What did they do? They dominated the games that they were able to dominate. That's what your number one seeds do. That's momentum. Now, the NBA season's a lot longer than the NFL season, so I am okay with these little skids as we're getting used to Chris Middleton. But we're in a really stretch of games here, and we talked about it a couple weeks ago. We've got about 2.5, 3 weeks of bad teams. You know what that means a month and a half for now? We finished the season with a month of 76ers, Warriors, Celtics. We're done with the Celtics, but everybody else that's a stud, we're about to play in the last month and a half of the season. So we do need to start stacking wins. We do need some momentum. Um, and we need both the Packers and the Bucks need a pissed off leader. Who is this? Who is the fiery, angry voice on either one of these teams right now, Cody? Where is the attitude? Where are we like Bobby, once he got his contract, he started thinking he's too good to get ejected. And that was one of his assets where he's ready to go fight. Those eyes get big. He stopped
Yeah.
doing that when he started thinking he was too important for that. Packers are,
Mhm.
like I said a little bit ago, we're the youngest team, but where's the fire? Where's PJ Tucker? He's the one who brought us to that chip. Where Kevin Green, Clay Matthews, like we had these dynamite personalities. I don't see
Charles
that with
Woodson.
either one of these. Charles Woodson, I don't see that with either one of these teams right now.
Yeah, I think I mean it's hard to call Giannis not a great leader. I feel
Giannis, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. I mean you give it to Giannis. Jordan Love, I kind of see he should be the leader of this team, but I think he's kind of like that silent leader type. Like there's just some guys that really have that ooh rah rah quality. Like Aaron Rodgers is never going to give a speech like Drew Brees could in a pregame,
Hmm.
or like even even like a Jameis Winston, like eating the W. Like. But
Again, not your most talented guy, but somebody who's going to be there, and Giannis can, but we need a martyr for him. We need somebody who's going to get up and light the place up a little bit.
it should be like a Bobby. I don't think that Derry Bird can be that guy. Like it's your young stud. I don't know how intimidating or how scary a Derry Bird can be, but yeah, so guys just got to step up and take that role. I don't know for Green Bay. Like I really love the way that Edgerrin Cooper is playing. I don't know what his personality is like, but on that defense, I don't know who that guy is. On the offense, I feel like Jacobs kind of carries it in the way that he plays, but like the vocal leader, I don't know. I just don't think anybody has really stepped up. And I don't know who, like I said, it should be Jordan Love, but there are just some guys that have those qualities and some guys that don't. And it kind of just organically happens that way. And I think the Bucks just follow with Giannis, but you can't do that every night or it gets a little bit boring. Like,
Games is that's too much.
yeah, like you gotta, Dame's got to be that guy sometimes. And I'm not gonna say like he hasn't popped off in a couple of games this year because he has, but he's still averaging 24%. The numbers, like, they don't pop off the page either. And I'm talking about these little skids, and they're against bad teams too. Like, there's some teams that you just need to go off against as well. Because Giannis, he's going to be a consistent 31 to 36 every single game. I think we're figuring that out this year. You can pencil him in for that. But if Dame doesn't have a good game, like, you just need those other guys to step in and pop off, and they haven't been able to do that. So I don't know. It's not even the midway point of the season. I mean, the Bucks have that NBA
Be
Cup
fine.
championship. Like, things will be okay. It's a long season, but just some negatives here. Green Bay, Milwaukee, but the Wisconsin Badgers, a big,
Woo!
big win over the Iowa Hawkeyes, 116-85. They were 21 for 31 from the three-point line. John Blackwell dropping 32 points. The Badgers showing up on offense once again.
I when I saw that, I sent you a screenshot. It's WTF. What is
Yep.
this? I've never seen the Badgers put up 106. I mean, the reason I've never seen it is because it's never happened. Badgers putting up 116 points in a college game. We were shocked earlier this year when they were scoring above 70 consistently and dropped
Yeah.
a couple of 85 games. Whoa, whoa, whoa! But the team hit a heater, and it's showing a high ceiling. This wasn't against, UW Milwaukee. This I was not bad basketball. That's a Big Ten, opponent right there, and they put it together. So Blackwell had himself a day, like you said. He's a sophomore. He's a 6'4" big guard. He's got some growing to do. He dropped 30 against Rio Grande earlier this year, and now again, not as not it's not Big Ten competition or anything, but if he's going to be starting to score 30, he had 17 against Marquette. If he's going to start putting this stuff together, he's showing a really high ceiling for himself. The other note I had about this game, team was 21 for 31 on threes for the day. The bench boys, 10 for 12 from three. The bench
Yeah.
was not missing a shot. We went up and we were up a good 15, 20 points and we let the bench go in and they just kept the heater going. It was a beautiful rerun to watch.
It started off close. Like the first like 10, 15 minutes of that game were kind of
Mhm.
lulling, but then those guys just caught fire and ran with it. And that was some fun stuff to watch. And you love to see that multiple guys on this team can go off for 25 plus in a game. And you got your Tanjay, you got your Blackwell, and there's some other guys that can step up too. But a lot of high hopes for the Badgers. A big win over Iowa. We'll switch gears here into the cheese grater. Three questions for each of us. I'll kick it off here for you, Sam. What is your biggest concern for this Packer team heading into Philly?
Biggest concern is the lack of mistakes that we're going to be allowed to make.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like I said earlier, I was writing down keys to the win and keys to the loss, and what I ended up with keys to win, 5 bullet points. Keys to loss, anything other than that situation right there. So I think the Packers have a formula that they need to hit. And I just think that there's not a lot of wiggle room for error. And for a team that has shown, to stall for a couple drives to throw a bad interception, or Saquon can just go to work on us.
Saquon
They,
could. I have a little bit more faith in the run defense this time around with Edger and Cooper playing the way that he is.
yeah.
This is a much better run defense team than what he saw when they played in Brazil. But yeah, there's not a whole lot of room for error for that Packer team.
Who do we need to be our player of the game next week?
Oh, it's got to be Josh Jacobs. He's got
Yeah.
to punch it in for 3 touchdowns, I think. Like, he's got to have one of those games. I mean, you would love to see Love go off. I really would, but I think the game plan for this team, their strengths, it all goes on the ground. It's been Jacobs all year, and I think it's got to be Jacobs going into this game too. But Love has to play efficient as well. Like, those two guys and the defense, I'm seeing as a crapshoot. I think they will be better against the run, And then in the passing game, Jalen Hurts has been out for the past couple of weeks. I think their offense is going to run through Saquon entirely as well. College football playoff, the semifinals coming up this week on Thursday and Friday. Who is your favorite to win? And are you rooting for anybody?
I don't have any particular rooting interests anymore. I do love that the top four seeds have all gone by the wayside. I think that adds an awesome little element into this. I think it shows that these college players, these young players, just need to be playing. And if it's taking a little bit of time off, you're already taking a lot of time off. Between the bowl games. I'd love to see Notre Dame back on top. I think they're a cool story. It's a cool college football program. They've been knocking on the door for a little bit, and um, they're not quite Yankees Dodgers, so I don't feel terrible like that.
Yeah,
But they just been around, and I think everybody can root for Notre Dame a little bit on this first 12 team college football year.
I agree with that. I do have Ohio State as my favorite though, and I kind of did going into this.
Sure.
Like they had that blunder against Michigan, but that game's a throwaway anyway.
A couple free agent wide receivers coming up. This and one not so much free agent wide receiver. What do you think? T. Higgins, Tyreek? Are we making a move?
Uh, no, I think they're gonna go through the draft again. I think they like that method, and they've got a bunch of guys who have shown potential, and it's
Mhm.
just not. I mean, maybe they could. I don't see Green Bay going after Tyreek, but then again, they surprised me. They went out and got Josh Jacobs this past year. I didn't think that was in the realm of possibility either. So, possibility. I would not. I'm not on the Tyreek Hill train. Like, there's just. I think there's a little bit too much off the field that Green Bay would like, and honestly, there's no way in heck that Tyreek wants to go live in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Like I will just say that bar none. I don't think there's any chance that he signs a contract up here. T. Higgins, maybe, and I think I'd be pretty happy with that. If you could guarantee one outcome, you can make it sports, you can make it whatever for 2025. What would it be?
Uh, let's. Oh man, I'm invested in the Bucks. I want to see the Dame Giannis thing work out. It rocked my world when Dame came to Milwaukee. I was calling everybody I know. I was jumping up and down in an empty apartment. Like when that news broke, it was so cool. I want to see this Bucks thing come through. They have been forgotten by reporters. Giannis is not getting the MVP love that he deserves. They're saying Shea is the MVP now, and Giannis is beating him in literally every single statistic, as
Yeah,
well as the head-to-head cup. And he's a better defender. It's just mind blowing the disrespect that Giannis is getting these days, and we
they
put
hate him.
so
I
much
don't know
into
why.
this. He could be the face of the league. He's funny. He's likable. He's family friendly. He's a good guy. He's everything you want, and he just gets no love. What is going on?
It's just a
I'm all
small
in.
market. That
Bucks
that's
in
that's
four.
all it is. All right, sounds good.
Is Bisaccia done
Oh,
after this year?
I don't think he is, but I think he should be. I think him
Yeah.
and LaFleur are really close and really tight, and that's going to come down to LaFleur's decision, like it was for Joe Barry, who had a much longer leash than he should have. But
Yeah.
Bisaccia has been disappointment after disappointment. And I hate to say it because I think he's a great guy from what I can tell. And he was a guy who was being considered for head coaching positions when they signed him to come here to Green Bay. But the special teams has not been it. They have not been able to stop the stupid trick plays, kind of like it happened last week. I mean, good for Chicago, but there's just been so many issues, and they knew that McManus could go and make that kick from 55, but LaFleur was acting like he didn't know that. That's why I called the timeout. And a lot of that has to go to Bisaccia. Like he should have went up to LaFleur and been like, "Hey, don't call his timeout. Run the clock. He's gonna make the kick from here." Like those are things that you say. Like that's what you're doing as the assistant head coach. So he should be, but he won't be. Is kind of where I'll say that. Now for our headline predictions for next week. This comes as a surprise, kind of for how the theme of the show has gone for me, but I'm going out on a limb here. Packers stun Philly. Love is greater than brotherly love.
All right, I love it. Should have done mine first, so we finished on a positive note, I guess. But Phillies protected home field in a 32-13 routing of Green Bay. After a promising year, Packers head into the offseason with more questions than answers.
See, I think that's more likely. but I don't
Yeah.
want to say that here in round
I
one.
don't want to say it either, but hey, I'm rooting for the Packers. Like we both said, it could be a good game. And hey, if we beat Philly, then we're gonna run into a division rival, and we got an electric playoffs coming up. I'm stoked.
I will always have false optimism for this Green Bay team. Like no matter what. That's just how much we love our Packers. And last week sucked, but doesn't matter. They go into Philly next week and we'll get to see what happens. I'm Cody Depius. That is Sam Douglas. And thank you for being here with us on this Monday. We'll be back on Friday with another edition of A Little Bit of Cheese, your bite-sized Wisconsin sports podcast.